Cheese. Hi guys, my name is Anonymous Cheese and I'm the founder of Opalizard Studios, an indie game development company. We're back with Rainbow Heartbeats DEVLOG Part 3. In this one, we'll be tackling where Rainbow Hearts has headed since the release of the demo in January. You'll have to forgive me for the state of my voice. I've been sick for 6 weeks with a pretty bad cold, and the coughing, coupled with some pretty heavy-hitting voice work that I did for a recent project, has left my voice struggling to keep up. After taking a few weeks off from working on the game after the release of the demo, I started back up with a new plan for approaching development. Similar to how I approached my Game Jam project All of My Tomorrows, I decided to work on things in groups. Originally, I wanted to get everything completed in stages so I could implement in stages. Things like working on 6 characters at a time and then implementing those 6 characters. But with the core gameplay loop completed, I really needed to get the last of everything wrapped up. So I started working on story routes for all the remaining characters. This writing took a decent amount of time between February and March, because I wanted each storyline to be unique. Writing 23 different storylines in a row can be difficult because sometimes it's hard not to make each character sound like the previous one. So there was some particular attention to detail here that I needed to take care of in order to ensure each character had a proper voice that was distinguishable from the last. I have some self-doubts on whether or not I actually achieved this in totality, but I wanted to move on and I needed to move on, so move on I did. Around mid-March, I finished up the storylines, and a lot had changed from the first iteration I originally planned. Multiple storylines had to change because, well, simply put, they were boring. I had almost 10 extra side characters that had to be included, which meant designing and possibly voicing. There were 2 characters who were forgotten about, so they just weren't included, including a character's sister and a cat. And then there were 55 locations to draw, including variations between times of day, variations between seasons, and then new backgrounds that were needed because some new characters and new storylines called for them. All in all, it sounds like a lot, but I was determined to get going on all of this and get this game made. In April, I finalized and finished up all 29 main character arts, including outfits and expressions, and around 20 side character arts and expressions. I then completed the icons for all locations, all FriendPulse icons, and other Sampod app art, as well as the character slide art for the remaining characters. From there, it was time to move on to the remaining location art. I started this around mid-May, and by far this took the longest amount of time to complete as far as any one kind of asset for the game was concerned. Around this time, I did have to slow down a bit due to developing a pretty severe trigger finger in the middle finger of my non-dominant hand. Basically, my finger locked itself into a bend position and caused me some pretty serious discomfort, so it did delay getting the backgrounds done in a timely fashion. I also took a new position at my day job, and this took some transitioning as well. I was moving from 5 8-hour days to 4 10-hour days and wasn't getting a lot done other than just existing on the days I did work 10 hours. At the end of June, I did complete the last of the location art and it was time to move on to the next checklist. Music and Ambience. Ambience took a few days to complete, but music quickly became a problem after I finished the location music. It seemed that the more music I made, the less musical I was. I tried to find shortcuts to build the tunes, looked for inspiration in Creative Commons music, and just in general struggled with getting the last of the music done. In the end, I set Audacity to record, hummed and sung to myself until I had enough, and then used that recording to make the music until I had all 56 music tracks completed. Then I took a quick break because I was really starting to feel the creative burnout. This doesn't happen to me very often, which is something that I don't like to brag about because it's such a widespread issue. Usually I burn out in other areas such as my work life or my home life. Doing chores and going to a 9 to 5 or in my case an 8 to 6 really just sucks the life out of you. But creatively, I don't usually face this problem. Getting back to it, I did a quick redesign of the FriendPulse profile cards to accommodate a new feature so that you could check your friendship and romance level with any character you've met and added to the FriendPulse. Then went through and redid all the cards I had. Lastly, for graphics, I designed the event, holiday, and full moon graphics for whenever there is, well, an event, holiday, or full moon. Originally, there were going to be events called festivals, like the Blossom Festival in spring or the Snowflake Festival in winter, but due to the scale of the game and the amount of extra work needed, I decided to cut this feature, at least for now. I feel that there's enough going on in the game right now that I don't need to add or include anything else. All characters have holiday and spookorama outfits on top of their daily or work outfits, so the festivals, as much as I really wanted to have fun outfits for them, had to be scrapped. Finally, now that everything else has been done besides further design, organization, and programming, it was time to open up Unity for the first time in about 4 or 5 months. I had switched computers between the last time I'd opened the program and now, so there was a lot of re-importing and finagling to be done on top of importing new assets. Then, the final designing and programming began. This took a while. I ended up redoing my fungus flowcharts to have everything organized based on the character's romantic preferences. Pansexuals were kept with pansexuals, asexuals kept with asexuals, and so on and so forth. When I say this took a while, I mean it. It took me a solid week or two to sort through everything and reassign assets, as well as move things around in scripts and change a few names through my script files. Once that and other touch-ups were completed, adding the remaining storylines and locations was next. This was mostly assembling them with fungus blocks and the script I'd written. Playtests were conducted for each storyline to ensure the music and ambience matched the scene, as well as making sure everything flowed nicely together. This process took about a month. Once that was done, there were a few small story things to create that I'd initially forgotten in my list, a few buttons, location variations, and a few different character arts that were easily put together in less than 3 days and imported into the game. Around this time, I did participate in Spooktober Visual Novel Jam 2022 and created a little horror visual novel called With Bodies, They Walk. You can find a link in the description, and as per usual, this game jam helped teach me a few things last minute that I decided were invaluable to making Rainbow Heartbeats. For now, that'll have to do it for this devlog. I'm hoping that devlog 4 will be the final devlog, which means that the game will finally be released after 3 years in development. Then, it'll be time to move on to even more ambitious projects. Check me out on Twitter at Opalizard Studios or at On Cheese. Sometimes I post something relevant. Then of course there's my YouTube, where I post teasers, trailers, bugs, funnies, and spotlights of current projects or upcoming games. You can also click around my itch.io page for some other games or projects I'm working on, including all of my tomorrows and With Bodies, They Walk. Until next time!